Good morning. Let's get right to it. Here are the top stories we're following at this hour.
We're going to start in Germany, where the 62nd Munich Security Conference has just kicked off, and it's opened with a pretty stark warning about the state of global politics.
So the conference's own report is setting a really grim tone. It's using this powerful phrase, wrecking ball politics, to describe what's happening right now. The idea is that the international systems we've relied on aren't just weakening, they're being actively torn down. And, this is the main topic that leaders from 120 different countries are all talking about.
In his opening speech, German Chancellor Friedrich Merz really honed in on this. He made a direct appeal to the United States. And his message, which you can see right here, is basically that with all this geopolitical rivalry heating up, not even the most powerful country in the world can afford to go it alone. He's really pushing to repair that transatlantic trust. Of course, the war in Ukraine is a huge focus in Munich. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, well, he didn't mince words. He told allies that, from his perspective, Russia is not yet serious about peace talks. He also used his time to call for total sanctions on Russia's nuclear industry, saying that Moscow's actions just don't show any real desire to end the conflict.
All right, let's switch gears and head over to the United States. We're seeing this interesting split screen. Some good news on the economy, but it's happening right as a political deadline is looming in Washington.
So, on the economic side of things, we've got some good news. The Bureau of Labor Statistics just announced that the Consumer Price Index only went up by a tiny 0.2% in January. That brings the annual inflation rate down to 2.4%, and that's a pretty big deal because it's the lowest it's been since last May.
But, just as we get this good economic sign, it's being completely overshadowed by a political showdown that's brewing in Washington. And that's creating a whole lot of uncertainty.
So, the big question in D.C. right now is this. Are we about to see a partial government shutdown? And the department right in the crosshairs is the Department of Homeland Security, or DHS.
The problem is, funding for the DHS is set to run out this Saturday. And get this, lawmakers have already left town for a recess without getting a deal done. It all comes down to a major disagreement over immigration enforcement policies, which means the department's immediate future is kind of up in the air.
Okay, so this is a situation that's changing fast, and we'll definitely be keeping a close eye on it. If you want to stay in the loop on this story and everything else we cover, now is a great time to make sure you're subscribed to our channel.
Okay, let's move now to the African continent, where we're seeing a whole range of stories unfolding, from a terrible natural disaster to ongoing conflicts and even some diplomatic progress.
First up, Cyclone Gazani has just carved a devastating path through Madagascar. I mean, just look at these numbers. The official death toll is at 40, but the human cost is just staggering. We're talking about 16,000 people who've lost their homes and 18,000 houses have been destroyed. And now neighboring Mozambique is getting ready for that same storm.
And there's a lot more happening across the region. Over in the Democratic Republic of Congo, there's a small bit of hope. The government has agreed, in principle anyway, to a ceasefire in the east. Meanwhile, in South Africa, the army is being brought in to help police fight organized crime, and at the same time, they've confirmed a new case of foot and mouth disease. And from Sudan, a new UN report is saying that recent atrocities in Darfur by the RSF could actually amount to war crimes. But on a more positive note, Kenya is planning to reopen its border with Somalia in April, and that border has been closed for 15 years.
Now for a quick look at a few other major headlines from around the globe.
In the occupied West Bank, tensions are running really high. We're getting reports that dozens of Palestinians have been injured during a recent series of attacks, which are being attributed to Israeli settlers. This is all happening as tensions in the area were already incredibly high.
All right, let's talk economics and diplomacy. There's a huge planned investment from Japan to the U.S. We're talking $550 billion here that seems to have hit a snag. It's reportedly stuck in a legislative committee, and that delay could definitely have an impact on the economic relationship between the two countries.
And finally, let's end on a look at the future. We're heading into the world of science and technology, where the U.S. government is launching a really ambitious project that's all about artificial intelligence. It's called the Genesis mission. So what is it exactly? Well, the U.S. Department of Energy just laid out the plans for it. The big idea is to build this one giant connected platform that links up supercomputers, AI systems, and scientific data, all to dramatically speed up American research.
So, how are they going to do it? The whole mission breaks down into these 4 key goals.
First, they're going to link up supercomputers and AI systems. Then, they'll plug in experimental labs and all kinds of scientific data. After that, they'll unleash all that power on just about every major scientific field. The ultimate goal here, the big prize, is to literally double the productivity and impact of American research to solve some really big challenges.
And that brings us to the end of this news update. Thanks for joining us.
We'll be back with another summary of global events in 24 hours.